How many drift cars have you had?
I've had 58 cars total.
So every time you go to the track, you're in a new car, and it's like,
it was like,
it's gotta be frustrating.
It was frustrating, and it's a terrible way to improve any of your skill because every time you go, everything you've learned is wiped.
It's very cool to see the Mustangs growing and drifting and becoming more common and stuff. I'm not a Mustang fan, probably never will be, but when I ride along in them, I'm like, dude, these things are cheat codes. Build your skill level with the car you have, and then once you've maxed that out, upgrade the car.
Yeah, and the dude that shows up in like the clapped E36 that he's got like $3,000 in total and rips, I guarantee he was having way more fun than you in your $20,000 car.
100%.
Yeah.
And he knows how to drive 10 times better than you too. Welcome back to the #1 Drift Podcast on YouTube, presented by Enjuku Racing. And today, I'm Dawson, and today we have...
I'm Ryan. I'm the owner and promoter of Riverside Drift. So we do the 50k shootout that you guys have seen the last couple of years, as well as a bunch of like Matsuri style bash events outside of that.
Hell yeah, he's getting a little distracted by the cats right now. They're loving him. Of course, before we get into it, look below the video. If that subscribe button is still red, go ahead and click that and hit the bell notification while you're at it so you never miss an episode. And of course, the merch by now is done for the Enjuku gift card, but we should still have some sizes left. So if you want some, go ahead and grab them. The link is, of course, in the description. So if you want to kind of give a more in-depth rundown on who you are, and what you drive, stuff like that.
Yeah. So basically, for those of you guys who don't know, I know like a lot of your background with us is in the last couple of years. We started out in 2016. So basically, the way that looked like for my involvement in drifting and how I started out. First event I went to was Midwest Drift Union in 2010. So that was kind of my getting my feet wet thing. I worked at a photography studio at the time, so I had a bunch of camera equipment and got bored over the summer. So started doing media at some of those events. So that would have been 2011, 2012. 2013 was my first time driving, and that would have been at Killcare, where the guys run now with Drift Indy. Drove with them 2013, 14, 15. Then I went to work on the river on paddle wheel cruise boats. So couldn't exactly do any drifting anywhere I was at for that. So that year was kind of a hiatus. And then once I quit that job and came back and moved back in New Albany, their southern Indiana area, I couldn't really afford to go drifting the way I could before. So my route to that was basically the worst sales pitch I ever had in my entire life. So I called up Mike at the Sports Drome, and I'm like, hey, I have zero money to rent a track from you, and I have no background doing this, but I'll kind of make a gamble with you. So he gave me 3 weeks.
Do it anyways.
Yeah, he gave me 3 weeks to get my first event that I was running going, and as long as that worked out as like a proof of concept type thing, then he'd give me one more. So that worked out. First time we had 19 drivers, kind of hit the boxes he wanted to hit, so he gave me 2 more. We got through those 2 coming around to October 2016, and he's like, let's do 1 more. So what started out as like I want to go drifting. I don't have money to do it, but I'll do this for free. I just let it. He kept all the money. We just basically showed up, and like my buddy Matt, me, Will, and Flick all ran the show for him basically, and he handled the monetary side. So that was all 4 of our way to kind of just trade off and go drifting on the cheapest means possible. So that's how we started out.
We always try and cheat it a little bit somehow.
You gotta make this stuff cost effective, because it's not. So that
we're gonna dive deeper into all this.
but so that's kind of how I started out, and then just evolved from there to what pretty much everybody else sees now with us on Instagram. Riverside Drift is our official Instagram, and then Riverside Drift on Facebook. Same thing on YouTube.
Oh yeah, it's grown quite a name, especially with how much money you've been forking out for them. So, but yeah, we'll get into all that stuff. Tell me a little bit, like, before drifting ever became a thing for you. What were your hobbies? What were you doing then?
So before drifting, I didn't really have anything specific. It kind of just changed with the seasons. Like if it was winter, I'd go ski or I'd go snowboard, and I pretty much traded that off every off season because I get bored. Throughout the summer, it was just kind of anything I get my hands on that had a motor, I'd just mess with it. So like when I was, what would that have been, like 14, One of my teachers in school couldn't get a Yamaha Zuma running.
I'm on it.
So yeah, he's like, you can have it for free if you get it running, and I see you ride it to school. Give me $200. Otherwise, we'll call it even.
No shit.
So my stepdad worked at an airport at the time. They had to drain a bunch of fuel during inspections. So when they were doing that, we had to dispose of it. Well, the way I was disposing of it is putting 100 low lead in my messed with Zuma and riding that thing around. So it was kind of just like tinkering, I guess, would be the hobby before that.
Okay.
So they just keeping with the mechanical theme, but I didn't really have anything specific. I was like, this is my identity.
Yeah. So did you say you rode BMX at all?
No. So
I saw your kids do like the little Strider bike things.
Yeah, so they had
cool.
they had the Striders, and then I got them on the Stasics. So that's the like electric powered ones.
Oh, cool.
And then this kind of off season, I had my oldest kid, Landon, wanted to kind of get a little bit more into it, or at least he said he did. Now he's scared of it. So I built him a PW50, stripped it all down, sent it to Scott and Matt. They blasted it, powder coated all the pieces, put it together for him. So that's kind of where like the two of them are headed right now, because they can't exactly go drifting at 3 and 5.
Yeah.
So that's a good placeholder if I can get him to kind of get over the initial fear of it. Because
it's the first step. You just get him into BMX or skateboarding first. He'll find his way.
I mean, they did really good with the bikes. I got to say, like, if you have a little kid, the Strider bikes, just set them loose on it, and that is the way to go. Because neither one of them ever used training wheels. Like, he jumped on a pedal bike and just took off, and he's fine.
No shit.
Yeah. So those whoever thought of that system is perfect.
Damn. All right. Well, so how did you branch yourself into drifting? What gave you the influence, I guess? So
that was when I was in high school and first getting my driver's license. The first thing I had was a Toyota Avalon. Terrible car for a guy who like enjoys things like cars in high school. So I did that. I was working I was working at the photography studio that I mentioned, and then I was also working as a mechanic on Fridays at another mom and pop shop in town. And then on the weekends, me and my buddy were cutting grass for people. So I was like piling up all the money I could find while I had free time. And then I bought a 300ZX, which was the only rear-wheel drive 5-speed car that any of my buddies had at the time, because we had like just started driving. So it basically started out, we would just we saw some videos, and then we're like, oh, we can probably do that if it's raining. So we would just go to the high school and the middle school and everywhere else, and then we would just
to everyone else.
Yeah, we just ran the little like loop to make sure that you only stayed in this spot for 10 minutes and the cops wouldn't show up in time, and you moved to the next one.
Exactly, dude. There was a boat ramp near my house that was kind of like tucked off in the woods, and we would take my buddy's E36 out and do it in the rain.
Yeah. We had one of those. Mike Carver, one of the guys down there by us in New Albany. There's a boat dock. He's like, you should go try this out.
Perfect.
Exact same thing. It worked out great. Yeah. So
it became a quick hotspot.
Yeah.
Like you said, you had about 10 minutes of couple going around. This was like an oval, I guess. So you're not really doing much drifting.
But you're trying it. So it kind of gets you interested at least.
The feel of the skid, I guess. But I guess, what was your first drift car?
So that what was the first one I purposely like set up for drifting was right after that. I got an S13 hatch. So the way that worked out was we all went 2012 up to Lucas Oil for another Midwest Drift Union round that I was going to take some pictures at. The other guys were just wanting to go see what it was.
Yeah.
And it was a 2+2, so we piled 4 people in the thing, and we drove it up there and blew up the 300ZX on the way home. I was like, great, this is my only car. I have no way to keep going back and forth to work other than that moped I still had. So a guy in town, it was his wife's car. She passed away, and he's like, I don't want to keep looking at it. It's got a brand new clutch, brand new fuel pump, everything. AC worked perfect. He's like, $1,200. You can take it. And I was like, perfect. So
finding all the deals.
So I took that, and I was like, okay, I'll daily this car while I fix the 300ZX, and we can kind of mess with it more. And then that obviously snowballs like everybody else's does. One of the guys I had lived with at the time up in Indianapolis, he thought he blew up K Sylvia that he had.
Yeah.
Well, it was just the turbo was bad, but he's like, oh no, the motor shot. I'll sell you the whole thing for $300, like intercooler to the drive shaft, $300. Okay, so I unbolted the hatch of the 240 because I'd driven it up there. We wrapped it up in cellophane and just shoved everything in through the center. So the tail shaft of the trans is sitting next to the shifter, and the hatch is just packing taped and like wrapped in shrink wrap. And I drove it 2 hours home like that because I'm like, I'm not going to pass up a $300 SR.
Hell no, I wouldn't either.
So
that's crazy.
That's how the like now this is the drift car thing started because I'm like,
yeah,
one deal, two deals sounds like a good plan. So that I drove that for the first 2.5 years that I was driving. So
what all was done to it? Because this was 2016, you said?
So this would have been 2013 through 15 when I was driving the Drift Indy events. So it started out, it was just like cut knuckles from Bill Cook. We had the SR. It was just stock everything in a front mount. And then which way did this go? So 2013 No Star Bash. It started kind of messing up on me, and the intercooler couplers kept blowing off, and then the wastegate messed up. So we kind of like fixed the car by using a bunch of White Rain hairspray from the dollar store on the couplers.
Ebisu spec.
Yeah, clamped the shit out of it, and then when the wastegate messed up, I grabbed 2 fender washers and a piece of olive thread, and we just bolted it shut. Worst idea ever. But because all the couplers were so fucked up, it literally. Oh, can I say that on here?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, cool. Since they were all like completely wrecked, it was boost leaking enough that it didn't blow the motor, but it maintained about 12 to 13 psi. So it was like the most awful way I ever ran that car. But I'm like, I paid for 2 days. I'm not going to not drive for both days.
Yeah, of course.
That's kind of where that car started. Then I took it down off season 2013, redid everything. Me and my buddy Cody painted both of our cars the same color, so we just had them both white. It got like all the wide body stuff being knockoff Duraflex kit.
Yeah.
New wheels, the normal type stuff. And then it pretty much just stayed like that until it got a Sylvia front, took the Sylvia front back off, and then I think that was it. Then I sold it to Larry Smith, and I'm pretty sure it still lives in Cincinnati, but it's got an LS in it now.
Yeah, damn.
So it got swapped after I sold it. So that was the first like drift specific car I had.
Yeah. Okay. Because I saw there was an IS too, and then you had an RX-8 at one point.
Yeah.
Well.
So I went through a lot of them. Almost every.
How many drift cars have you had?
I've had 58 cars total, but I'd say so. I kept the hatch for a while, and then for the 2016, 2017 season, when I had started running events, every event or every other event, I had a different car. So I started like trading stuff out really fast. And a lot of that was kind of it falls in my lap, so I can't say no type deal. So when I started them, I had when I took that year off in 2015, I had got a 350Z that was just like stock. Okay. I bought some PBM coilovers from Rolando, put them on there. That was like it. It was stock. But a guy on Marketplace over in Louisville, he didn't want to mess with this 25 Neo swapped 97 Kooky that he had.
Hell yeah.
And I'm like, I'll trade you, and I'll just trade you the Z because I bought it for $5,000.
That's great.
He's like, well, I'll take that deal, but if you want to do that, I'll give you the other shell too. So like, I drove over my 350Z and I took the S14, drove it home. I got another 96 with like confetti interior, slick top pro car. Yeah. So I was like, this is a pretty good come
back
up.
when you could find these deals.
Oh, it was nuts. That was probably the best trade deal I had. So I took that 97, drifted it for 2 events. Well, I kind of got some of the stuff sorted.
Yeah.
And then I had sold off the shell, sold off all the spare parts the guy gave me with it. Like I had a spare RB25 block and everything. Sold all that stuff off in those 2 events. And then a guy in Virginia was like, I'll give you $10,000 for the car.
Fuck. Okay. Right.
So it's like, yeah, you at that point, I'm like, this is a decent way to kind of keep financing the hobby if I just flip stuff. So
it's gotta be like odd though. It's every time you go to the track, you're in a new car, and it's like,
oh, it was like,
gotta be frustrating.
It was frustrating, and it's a terrible way to improve any of your skill because every time you go, everything you've learned is wiped.
Someone will argue that. That'd be the best way because you're driving so many vehicles.
But the problem was like I went through them so fast that whatever problems they had when I got them, by the time I fixed them, it was like halfway through the track that I found out that something was messed up. So like after the 97 car, I went one event with no car. And then a guy wrecked an S13 vert that was like full caged, everything. He backed it into the wall at one of my events.
Yeah.
I've got an E36. I'll trade you, and you can just leave it with me. And so he's like, okay, yeah, I just need something that drives. So then I ended up with that car.
You
and
just
it's
find people on the spot.
Yeah,
like,
that's the thing. I always tell everybody, I'm like, if you want to get a deal on Marketplace or anywhere else, you got to be ready to do it like right then.
No, that's how the RX-7 that's sitting outside happened.
Yeah,
it was on there for like 3 or 4 hours.
Well,
at 8 in the morning.
The best one of these that we ever did was one of my buddies, Alex, went with me to PRI. What would this have been? 4 years ago. And he works for Ford. So he got his like profit sharing bonus at the end of the year.
Nice.
And I was like, I'll make you a bet. I'll find you something on Marketplace that we can buy tonight. And I can probably get it for half of it. He's like, no, you can't do that. So we found an R32 that the dude had like drove into a curb on the front corner, shattered the wheel and everything.
Way.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay. He says $8,000 or best offer. I'm like, I'm gonna try to get it for 4. And it's 1 a.m. and we're like 45 minutes away from this dude. And so I start messaging back and forth, and I'm like, I'll give you $4,000 and we'll come right now. Like, he lived in an apartment, so he had 4 days to get rid of it or it was getting towed.
Shit.
I was like, we'll come right now. It's gone in the morning. And we had no trailer or nothing because we just went up there for the trade show. So I had a buddy that lived 2.5 miles away, and we drove it with the shattered wheel 2.5 miles because I'm like, we can't not get this deal. So it's like, as long as you're ready to go right then.
Yeah, it's in the middle of the night too.
Yeah.
Who cares? Nobody's on the road.
No, yeah, we passed like one car, and they probably looked at us like, "What is going on?" Because the car, like, I'm riding with him, and we're doing this the whole way down there. It was terrible. It shook the harness out and like rubbed through the headlights, and the headlights just over here flickering. I'm like, we just got to get it off the road now. So it was rough, but stuff like that's like a good way to go through it. But anyway, back to where we were at, I guess, on the car thing when you were asking. So to get to where the IS was, I went through 2 more cars between that vert and the IS. And that car was actually an automatic, but I was like...
Yeah, like after the IS, it started going to a bunch of different cars, and I was like, I have no fucking clue what's going on here. Let's just ask. Yeah,
so the IS I bought for $200, and it was an auto car. And I was like, let's see how cheap we can get this going, because I'll just let everybody drive it if we can make something super cheap. So I took Lucas Oil forklift hydraulic ram oil and put I mixed that in ATF 50/50 and put it in the trans, so the torque converter pressure went like through the roof. And it always stayed locked. You just literally put it in 2, drove balls to the wall into the corner, and then just pulled a handbrake. And as long as you stayed mad at it, it did great.
Hell yeah.
But we ended up actually putting that on a link and did the whole turbo setup and everything, and it ran, I want to say it was like, normally we ran it at like 10 PSI.
Okay.
And that made it freaking awesome until me and CMJ were out one time in it, and we were trying to kind of like tune it and see what was going on because it was acting real weird. Didn't catch it somehow, and it went to 21 PSI, and we did like 4 laps, and we're like, okay, it rips, but it breaks up and it runs like shit. And then like the floor pan felt like it buckled and it blew up. So that was like the end of that. He still got the connecting rod hanging on the wall in his garage, and it was like a 1/4 inch shorter from the So that was about the end of that. And then the RX-8 that you were asking about.
Yeah.
That came in after that.
Okay, so did you ever deal with any issues on the RX-8? Because it was still factory rotary, right?
No. So it was I got that from Mike Fiak. So he like does a lot with rotary stuff, or did a lot. He's kind of making his way out of it now. But he had just rebuilt it. That was his like daily drifter. So he made some knuckles on a mill. And it had like some Neo Motorsports coilovers from his Pro-Am car. They were great.
Fuck yeah.
I loved how that car felt, and it was stock when I got it. And then obviously it has no torque and no power. And I'm like, okay, the chassis is good.
I've oddly always loved the look of RX-8s. I don't know why, but
I didn't think it was bad. I like everybody. My wife hated how that car looked, and I'm like, it might not look the best, but
it kind of looks like a chick's car. But
yeah, and I put the S2 front end on it to try to like make it more aggressive. But that was kind of hard to find parts for to get all that done. But we ended up kind of making a turbo kit that still. It put the biggest turbo we could put and still keep all the stock stuff.
Okay.
So it still had like all of your functionality, and we got around the oil metering pump and all the stuff to like put it down there. So Mike built the manifold, and then like he had mocked it up on a motor he had, and then I had finished. No, he welded that one. I welded the one for
This
my
is
FC.
the Genesis motor, right?
The Renesis.
Or Renaissance, whatever the fuck it's called.
Yeah, so
I don't
that was
know
that
my
one. And
rotors
everybody's
like
like,
that.
oh, they can't take boost, it'll blow up. And I think at the highest I had it at 14. He always told me to run it at 10, so it was only like that for one event. And then because I have zero mechanical sympathy, when CMJ and him tuned it, I didn't know that they did it, but they're like, we know how you are on cars. So we had a link on it too, and he changed the scaling for the water temp.
Yeah.
So I was like, holy shit, I got this thing to 285. And they're like over there laughing, and I'm like, what's so funny? And he's like, well, I actually made 215 say it was 285 so that you wouldn't like blow your shit up. So that I
saving
think,
your ass,
yeah,
buddy.
I think that was why I had decent mechanical luck with that. Was they kind of like tried to keep it in a decent, manner. But
dude, I do that every single time now.
I mean, it's kind of at a bad height for like right at the top of the couch.
But it's like it's a good.
It's good
spot.
for that.
The camera,
it's good for that.
perfect.
Yeah.
I just gotta get used to it. Anyways, sorry.
But yeah, no. So it always did me good, and then I traded that for a 370Z, like straight up that
Back to
needed
the
a little
Z.
bit of stuff. Yeah, back to the Z. And as soon as I traded it, the kid blew it up because he didn't pre-mix the gas because we took the oil, like the oil metering pump was in there, but it was like placebo over here on the side, mounted up on the firewall. And I told him, but I don't really know why that happened. So that car died as soon as I traded it off. The Z I never really drifted with, and then I ended up in the Mustangs after that.
Damn.
So
Shit. I like okay, so when did the Riverside stuff happen? Because I noticed you had like Riverside liveries and everything on the RX-8. And
so that when we started getting the graphic stuff, Austin at Spider Graphics, he had come on board as a series partner.
Cool. Yeah.
So I was like, let's I've never had a livery on anything because I had no like I didn't really ever have anything long enough to bother. So like the RX-8 I had for 2.5 years. I'm like, let's put something on here. And so he just drew that up, and I dropped the car off one night and came back up a month later, picked it up, and it was ready to go. He'd fixed everything, and he just kind of designed it, put it on, and it worked out good. So then
So at the time you were running events.
Yeah, I was running events. So that the RX-8 I had in 2020, because I drove it at Kentucky Speedway when we did the road course. Set it like when we shut the streets down with the sheriff's department. We ran an event. So the RX-8 I had that season, and then the one after. So that was 4 years into running events. Was when I had that.
Oh shit. Okay. What was the original start for Riverside solely just supposed to be events, or did you have anything else that was planned for Riverside?
No, so I literally just started it to run events so that like me and my buddies could all drive.
So it was as bare
bones as that. Like we did, it was literally like open the gate, here's some run groups, go drive the first year. And then 2017 we started doing the like top 16 mini comps with the Link guys. Okay. So we gave away like Link ECUs was the prize for everybody for the season.
Hell yeah.
And we did that.
By the way, if you guys want a link, Enjuku's got them in the description.
I also sell them, but you can cut that out if you have to.
I'll leave it in. I don't care.
Yeah, so they came on 2017. We started doing that. And then I actually had Mike Carver, the guy I talked about earlier. He won 3 years in a row. So like he had a link on everything. His brother had a link on everything. His buddy Fatty had a link on everything because he was winning.
Might as well be sponsored at that point. Hell,
he was setting his whole crew up on links. So it worked out good. I mean,
that's how I ended up on
a
link. Shout out to Scott.
Yeah, that's how. Yep, same thing. So I mean, we still keep that program through today. We've had those guys on board for 7 years now. So
that's awesome.
That's our longest.
And they're gonna be back this year, right?
Yeah, okay, they'll be back this year. So
hell yeah. Okay. Yep. Well, actually, speaking of Link and the Mustangs, I did want to bring up. You told me that the Link digital dashes, they're basically like plug and play to. I don't know if you said all Mustangs, but I know the S197.
Yeah, so what it actually is like, because you can run it just off your CAN protocol. So when I had it on the Black Mustang, like at Ford Fest, when you were doing the stuff for us there, and I had it as the dash, it was power, ground, CAN, high, and low. And then you just go in with your computer and set what you want it to read. So CMJ had set that stuff up on the red Mustang, and I literally pulled it out because he had already done all the protocol, and I just did the CAN high low power ground thing, and it ran everything on the Black Mustang. And it was a bone stock car with a dash in it, just so I could have some of the extra
Yeah.
data that it had.
Dude, that's so fucking cool. Shout out to Mustangs for that.
Yeah, it was.
And wait, did you say that's on the like S550s too, or
So
the
that as long as
SM95?
you can set up all of your like data points, you can use it on anything that's got a CAN network. So it would be like,
Oh, okay.
you could do
So
it
it's
on
not
you could
just
do it on your
specific.
350Z and
Oh.
do the same trick. Yeah,
Damn, I didn't realize how easy that was.
yeah.
Well, I guess it's not easy.
It's not
But,
easy because see the
you know
hard
what I mean.
part of it CMJ did for me. So it was like
yeah.
for me it was easy because he'd already set it up on the red Mustang that Dave drove. So it's like I had just the dash saved the stuff he had set up for me, and I just moved it over, and he like sent me a diagram and everything.
Dude.
So it made it
That's
easy
sick.
on my end.
Yeah, I want to put one in my car eventually, but even if it was factory ECU on the Z, you would still be able to do it.
That was
As long
factory
as
ECU on the Mustang too.
Dude, that's so wild.
Yeah,
God.
it's like there's a lot of stuff like that people I guess don't realize you can move over because you can take that dash and put it on a bike too. Like Scott could put it on his
Yeah, see, I've
motorcycle
seen that.
and you can do that too. It just depends on what like
That's
how you want to configure it. But
okay, so tell me, like, what was the? I guess you're branching off to another car now, right?
so I don't really have a plan for a car right now. I honestly wasn't planning on getting rid of the black Mustang.
Yeah.
But it's kind of in the same theme of the rest of it, where it's like this was too good of a deal to not.
Can't pass up.
Yeah.
Again.
So when I sold that, I kept a lot of the parts. So like I still have the dash and the seats because we got with Status and had like Riverside seats made. So I had those. I had the Koenig wheels. Like everything stayed with me off the car, so I could take that and like the spare arms that I have from Scott and stuff and put them on another Mustang. I just have to find one. They're like the easiest car to set up, so it wasn't really like a big thing for me because I can go down and buy one for $3,000 and be in the same boat. So,
well, okay, so give like a more in-depth rundown on the S197 because that seems to be a very popular car coming around in the grassroots, lower budget guys.
So I've had both iterations of like the first 197, so it'd be like your 05 to 09, but they changed the cooling system in 07. So if you get like the earlier generations, if you try to put any kind of forced induction on it or do anything with the cooling system, it's kind of a pain in the ass because it's a remote thermostat. But if you go 07 to 09, then it's on the top and it makes it kind of simple. And I didn't have like any overheating issues. So if I had to recommend one, I would buy the 07, 09. Otherwise, like you already have a 488 rear and it's a stick axle car. So like the tire wear was always perfect.
Yeah.
And then I had taken, I left Scott and Matt the red car for like 4 months. They came to my house, picked it up and took it down to do like the bash bars and everything. And so that car was the jig maker basically for a lot of that stuff when they first did it. But now, I mean, after that, and since he's got the CAD and everything, like you could drop everything onto those cars now.
Dude,
with them. And
insane.
so I think that's the biggest thing when I've recommended it to a few people now, because I'm like, if you just go on the website, you can pick what you want and it's like everything you need, nothing you don't. So like it's a really, really simple car to work on for somebody who's just starting out too. But it's like you're getting a V8 that's not super high horsepower, but it's got plenty of torque for you to be lazy.
Yeah.
So like you've got that
there whenever you hit the gas.
Yeah, and I mean you can clutch kick it like it owes you money and it doesn't care. Like I broke kind of messed the synchros up from first to second on both of the transmissions I had, but it was like
you'll deal with that on any car, really.
Well, we were using it for clinics, so like people that were starting out. They don't really know what they're doing, and they're just like beating and they're beating the shit out of it, which was good because it was what it was there for. Was kind of why we had even got the black car. But everybody that we had started doing it in E36s when we did the clinics and like the off-season school, and everybody, like some of the guys had done that and come back and done the Mustang, and they're like, this thing drives like butter. I'm like, like every part of this car is designed in CAD. The stuff that was on the E36 was like kind of cobbled together stuff. But just
shit.
If you get the whole package on that, I think the last couple guys that I'd set up on it, because we had started selling Scott and Matt stuff too.
Yeah.
The last couple guys I set up on it, I think we probably spent like $2,000 kind of dialing in like their suspension stuff outside coilovers, but it's like that was getting their rear arms, their front control arms, the knuckle pieces, everything, and it bolted on the stock stuff. So it's like if you're just getting into it, they're perfect cars for that. And you can get them for $3,000 if somebody's backed it into a guardrail or something, and it doesn't affect how it drives. I mean, you saw the black car; it was all crunched on the back corner, but
Yeah.
it works.
Oh,
so
no. Yeah, and it was black, so you could barely tell when it's on track.
yeah. I mean, and that was the nice thing. Like at Ford Fest, it's just me and a bunch of S550s, but you can't like. It wasn't that much slower than them, and you can't tell it's all beat up.
Yeah,
because it's dark. So it's like it looked okay with everybody else.
No, it's very cool to see the Mustangs growing and drifting and becoming more common and stuff. I'm not a Mustang fan, never really have been, probably never will be. But when I ride along in them, especially the S550s now, I'm like, dude, these things are fucking cheat codes.
Yeah,
like I don't know another car that you could just go blow 20 grand on and it be absolutely perfect.
Yeah, and that was like Hobson's car. Like
that's the exact point.
And like I always knocked on the Mustang stuff in the past anyway, and it was just like when I did the red car, I bought it off a buddy that was up in Indy when we were bringing over the Drift Games guys, and I'm like, I just need something that we can basically like throw a bunch of spray on, have it make power for a 50K event, and we'll get through it. And it kind of sucked because it worked perfect for me all the way up until Dave needed it, and then the converters we hadn't taken out, so they melted shut.
Yep.
And Justin Medina was under there like being pit crew of the year for those guys, cutting them out with a sawzall in the pits, and then like
what a guy.
Yeah, he was like under the grandstands at Salem trying to make the thing run, and then like all the link guys were helping him out trying to make sure that like they could do everything they could to kind of squeeze the stuff back out of it, and we got it working just in time. But it's like the car did that, and he kept up pretty decent at the 50K. So it's like we probably had, I'd say if you tried to go and build that car off the shelf the same way it was with the nitrous and everything, you'd probably spend like 10 grand. Damn. So it's like that's not a bad way to do it.
Yeah.
If you're trying to be like have something that's fun but not boring.
Yeah, of course.
But before that, I mean, like the Z's, like what you've got, I've always liked that kind of stuff.
Well, that's kind of my next question was, is there any car that you would say is comparable to the Mustang for you in a sense of driving wise? Like,
it depends on what you're trying to do with it, I guess. Because it's like if you're if you're just trying to go out and have fun, we had this super clapped 350Z that same thing I got off of a driver when he needed some money to buy a new truck, and he's like, I'll sell you this super cheap. So like every staff guy had driven it. Like I had put it off in the mud, and like I mean I walked across the roof to get back off it. So like we didn't really care much about the thing. When I bought it, it hadn't had an oil change in 4 years, and the dude had still been drifting it. So it's like it was on borrowed time when we got it, but miles per gallon wise, I'd say the 350Z was still the way to go. But now like they're going up so much in price that's why we ended up on the Mustangs.
And dude, it's funny because I go to my buddy Brennan's to mount tires and stuff, and he picks up a lot of 350Zs and 240s and stuff, parts them out, all that. Do you know Brennan Daniels?
No, I haven't met him personally.
Yeah,
he's messaged me about event stuff, but
okay, yeah. Well, that's what he does a lot on the side, and dude, he's always got Zs, and it's to the point now. I asked him the other day, last time I was there, I was like, but how do you find these deals now? Like, are you still scrolling through Marketplace? And he's like, not really. And most of the time, it's just people know me. And even if I don't know them, they're just like, hey, I have this car. Come get it. And I'm like, all right, I'll be on the way today.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, I wish someone would offer me a $2,000 Z again.
Yeah, you can't. It like when we had got that one, I think I gave him $3,000 for it. And it was like, it already had dual caliper BCs, like GK Tech angle kit. It was beat, but it had like the good bones. I'm like, for $3,000, that was a good deal. But now I'm like, if I spend $3,000, I get one that's caught on fire out of like the corner. If I'm just scrolling Marketplace, it's like there's nothing's as cheap as it used to be though. Like pre-pandemic. Yeah. So I guess that's part of that.
You know how every car has like that one part that's just ungodly expensive for no reason?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know which part it is for the Z?
The cam sensors?
No. Well, yeah, those are
and they're stupid to
for
do
no reason. But, yeah, I didn't think about that. But no, it's that goddamn the pillar trim piece.
Oh yeah.
I asked Brendan out because like mine's a little fucked up on the driver's side from my Lambo doors hitting it, and I asked him like how much because he has 5 of them, 5 Z's there or whatever it is, and he was like, "You don't want to buy it." I was like, "I probably don't, but just tell me the price anyways. I'm curious." and he said like $300.
Yeah, for used
for
ones.
one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, what?
Yeah,
That's insane.
And it was the same way on that 370 I got. So when I got it, the dude had drove it under the back of an Escape. So like the hood was crunched. And I didn't think anything of it. I'm like, all right, it needs a hood, it needs a bumper, it needs a fender and a headlight. Like that's not a big deal. I got the headlights on Marketplace for $200. Like that was the deal. And then I start looking and I didn't even realize it. But before I left to tow it 2 hours home, I should have taped the stupid A-pillars down.
Oh no.
And they both snapped in half at the top corner of the windshield because it had broke the clips on the front. So like the wind caught them from where the hood hit and it snapped them both off. They were $1,600 if I wanted the pair.
Dude, it's by the way, if anyone makes Z parts, make those.
Yeah,
make those
Irving, make those.
Yeah, there you go. KBD. Come on, baby. Oh my God, dude. Y'all would make a killing off of that.
Yeah, it'd be the only one that you can take back off without snapping it too.
Yeah. Yeah, KVD, Irv, make those and make the front overs too. That'd be sick because I need those. Dude, I've almost got the FDF kit to where I can fit the full Mega Mantis kit. I can fit my wheels under the factory fenders. I just had to roll the shit out of them, but
I'm surprised they stretched that far.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
they were already a little fucked.
Oh, okay.
But I have the FDF kit all the way in as far as it can up top and then pretty extended down low. So, and then 235s up front. So that helps. But yeah. Anyways, dude, so this year, we'll just jump into Riverside again.
Okay.
This year, what is kind of your goal moving into this year? Because I know, like, the past few years, the first one was like immaculate and an amazing turnout, and then it seemed like the fans and spectators started kind of withering away a little bit. So what is your goal going into this year to kind of counteract some of those that happened in the previous years?
Right. So a lot of what we had was like 2022 when we did the first 50K, because I'm assuming that's what you're like.
Yeah.
So when we did the first one, it was like you only had one option to do it. So like if you,
how do you mean?
Like there was only one weekend. So when we did two this year, like driver wise, if you look at like who drove and where they're from, it just split to like whichever one you were closer to, you just drove that. So instead of filling one 80 driver field, we like ended up with 90 total, but they split between the two, whatever worked out better. So like all the East Coast guys went to New Jersey. And then spectator wise on that event, we were the 5th drift event in a row at the exact same venue. And it was 4th of July weekend. So it's like whatever guys that made deals with their girls to go to whatever other event, they definitely weren't going to get that deal again on the 4th of July weekend. So that I think that was a lot of what happened there. So then it's like, you know, that combined with like everything's super expensive. So people can't, like a lot of the dudes that drove the one in 2022, they're like, I can't afford to keep doing these because like the cost in doing that versus a fun weekend is insane. Like
it's especially in New Jersey. Because watching Scott go through it, oh my! I don't know how much he spent. I don't want to know.
Yeah,
but he spent a fucking lot.
Yeah,
with Airbnb costs, fuel. Well, there's a lot of stuff that's sponsored, but I mean, crazy amount of money. It's got to be upwards past 10 grand that he spent.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was
most drivers.
I think that was a pretty common theme with a lot of the guys, and that was, I mean, that's part of like going farther away from where like your home territory is. Plus, like Salem is the cheapest spot you can ever go because the nice hotel, which is the only hotel in town, is $50 a night. So it's like if you're paying $50 a night versus
nice is used very loosely, bro. Understand that
it's the only accommodation pretty much on like that side of town. So it's like running there for driver wise, I think was a little bit better because it's also way more centrally located in the country. Where it's like Jacob Anderson drove from Wisconsin to New Jersey, and it's like. A lot of the, like where his drives normally, like I think it was like 6 or 7 hours, maybe 8 to come to us there. It was like 16 to go out there. So it's like when you do that, it makes it hard for people to kind of do both. And it's like a lot of them wanted to try New Jersey because they hadn't gone there yet. So that was one thing that we tried to do just for sake of variety and give like I tried to listen to what people want driver wise and say like, okay, we'll try it if we can try it. But it's one of those things where like it just didn't work out. So, you know, it's expensive on the drivers. It's obviously expensive on like my end too. When you try to do those kind of things. So I kind of like the way that Mike and Chris Knapp do their gambler thing. So we're still going to run one this year in June, same like time frame as when we ran the original 50K and the other one. but it'll just be an attendance-based payout. So
Gotcha,
I'm not going to like slap it on and say, I'm paying you 50K. And then like 28 drivers are driving. Cause like from my side and from a fan side, like I'm not going to pay to not beat a full field. Like the prize is to beat the 79 other dudes that you're driving against, not like the 24. So it's like, that's kind of where that's at, is it's just going to be like, if enough dudes show up, then it's worth it. And then the other thing that we kind of like had bounced back and forth was, you know, the first 50K, a bunch of the dudes came in and they're confident, but they've never driven against this level of drivers.
Okay, yeah.
So like a lot of the dudes came in and it was kind of a wake up call, and then they didn't want to they didn't sign up for it twice because they're like, well, I know I'm just going to get beat by whatever. So the other thing we're doing is like in June this year, it's just a 265 max.
Okay.
So it's like
smart.
Try to make it more advantageous even to like the other, like your normal like pro-am level dudes, to kind of get back into it and fill it out there.
Dude, you'll hear at every fucking meeting, run what you brung. And as much as I want like that to be a thing, like that's big money.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is like,
I guess.
So, I mean, obviously like I want to see all the shit go fast and like it looks cool and all that kind of stuff. But like, I also I want to broaden it back up and get like for the one dude versus the 40 other dudes that would like consider it based on that simple one fact alone.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, if we just do that, and then it's like, you know, if the driver's side still doesn't want to show up and drive it, then we just shift focus and we do something different. It's like, you know, we're try to kind of adjust and see what works out. But like, it's kind of a weird landscape to navigate, because when we do the fun weekends, it's like anybody will show up and drive a fun weekend. Yeah. The money side of stuff, like it's cool. When we did it the first time, I'm trying to like give back to drivers, because like the shit's expensive, and like even going to FD, like the dudes are winning, they're not making anything. So I'm like, I'll make it worth like the driver's while, because like say somebody like you or me goes out and drives, or like Jacob Anderson, where he's like, I think one year he won like 15 grand. Like that changes a lot for a dude at like a normal level where they don't have like big corporate sponsors and stuff. Like if they can show up to something and make a difference in things, like that was the idea behind it. And that's kind of why we wanted to shift and get like shrink the tire way down to basically give like those dudes where they can come back and say like, okay, this is something that I can try again and try to get, you know, that benefit out of it.
So when you first went into Riverside, then because this was, I mean, you were watching clutch kickers happen. And kind of, did you ever get nervous with any of that stuff, kind of going deeper into the 50Ks about like, well, what if this ends up the same way as clutch kickers?
So it's one of those things that like, I've watched it. I mean, I've been around this stuff for over a decade, like almost 15 years. It's like, when you first do something, everybody's gonna be like, "Oh yeah, this is sick," and they'll like,
hype is there. Already.
Yeah, the hype's there. And then as soon as like one or two bad things happen, then reality sets in, and you can watch it. But it's not like it's not just a clutch kickers thing; it's everything. It's like even when I was doing the media stuff with MDU, it was like the last round that they did like an MDU round, and you were like getting a pro license. There was 6 dudes that signed up for St. Louis, so it's like, you can watch the same trend over and over and over again with everything. So it's kind of just you, from an event promoter side, you have to look at it and say like, okay, I'm going to do this like the 50K or whatever. But it's like, you can only do that kind of thing when the drivers back it. Yeah. And that's like such a big spend over what anybody thinks it is. Cause like,
there's going to be a lot of variables to really let the drivers be fully like into it, like they were with clutch kickers. It was a specific track that everyone like loved and dreamed of driving, which luckily I got the chance to, and it's fucking amazing. But it was like a whole different and new experience at the time. And then I think that's like you said, it just kind of withers as you go, and then people start change, the reality sets in and stuff. So I've always been curious. I've been very vocal about how I think big payout events are kind of dying. And it's more coming back to the grassroots side of things. And, you know, I wish, like you said, for the 265 rule, I wish event hosts would kind of do like set the bar for the style standard more, because then I guess not. Well, I guess not more, but that would create a more of a FOMO factor, in my opinion, to where like they have to build their car up to this level to even get accepted, and then I feel like no matter what happens, then they're more accepting of the outcome because you set the precedent up front. Does that make sense?
It does, but that's, I mean, to me, that's like what Drift Indy's doing.
Maybe like
right
completely overthinking it, but
I think that's kind of like, it depends on which like crowd you're in, because like Drift Indy's doing that, but they're doing it well. Like with the street legal thing, like you got to apply. They've got like, this is what it's going to look like. You know what it's going to look like going in. But it's like a lot of the dudes that rip, like Mike Carver, for example, like his car would never get into street legal, but the dude like shreds. Cause on like, for example, we were at Salem, you know how big the bank is there.
Oh yeah.
Like dude comes out and just lets it eat and blows his taillight up on the wall, and he rides the whole top of that wall where people at the 50k like couldn't do it. And he's in an old E30, and he gets out and he's like, oh, I gotta tighten these shocks up a little bit, and I'll go do it again. And he pops the trunk. He's like, shit, they're stock. I forgot I'm running on all this garbage. So like dudes like that, I don't want to put something like that on there to exclude them, because the way we had always done it in the past was like, we let the dudes come out, we did like Drift Limbo, we did all the mini games and stuff, and like that stuff's coming back to the Mott Series this year. But it was more like, it let dudes kind of build their skill, and get, I don't want to knock that kind of stuff out, because like that's kind of the vibe that I want to bring back in this year, is like what had kind of got us going the first 5 years that we did events. And bring, that's why we went back to the Sportsdrome this year for a couple of events, because it's like the original like party vibe event, like what you were saying, is kind of what we're missing as event hosts doing, because that was always way more fun for us. And then like drivers the same way. Anybody can come out, have fun, do that, where it's like, you know, we'll do that. We'll throw the old top 16 style competition at the end of the weekend, like we've always done in the past. So that'll look a little different too. So we'll put prizes on it, like what we did with the link stuff in the past, but it'll be like, if you finish first, second, or third, that's just what order you pick from like the prize bucket, basically. So every round you can get Link ECU, a set of BC coilovers, or a set of Koenig wheels. And then that kind of like, then you're not winning the same thing 3 times like Mike Carver did. But then you can kind of like help support people and get them built back up, because like the dude might show up on a beat up old set of Racelands, and it's like, try to do that to kind of build the drivers back up, because so many people have burnt out over the last few years that like, and everybody and their brother now is like running events. So that makes it kind of hard to sustain too, because it's like, everybody's like, oh, that doesn't affect such and such. It's like, say me or you go out and break our car at another event at the beginning of the season. It's like, well, then everybody's out, and then they've got 4 times as many chances to wreck and break their cars. So then you got to like try to run against that and still keep events going, because like last year we ran at a loss the whole year. So that makes it kind of hard. But
well, that's another reason why I brought the style thing up, because I feel like if you keep a control on the style of the cars, that helps the spectators be able to be more involved. Now, I don't run events, so I have no fucking clue how it works. So, like, the spectators may not be that big of a ratio to what the cost is and everything like that, and what you would be making. But how, I guess, jumping back on last year and the whole budget thing, why did it become like a loss in every way, I guess?
So the biggest thing is like when somebody who's not involved in how the event operation works and like the event promotion, when they look at it, they're like, okay, you got 500 spectators, you got 50 drivers, that's X, you made that much money. It's like, no, you didn't.
It's not as black and white.
Yeah, because like you got to put your dudes up in hotels, you got to pay for flights to bring them in, you got to get insurance for each day at the track, you got to get food trucks, you got to get like your own.
Like some driver tickets are like sponsored tickets, right?
Yeah, so like in some sense. So like I run that kind of differently from what some of the other guys do, because since I was also driving, some of the times when we would do like partner deals, it would be like, you know, I'll swap you your product for my advertising type thing, because it's mutually advantageous. So it's like, if I get, like, say Scott So he gives me an angle kit. I give him drive time. So like he gets 50K entry. It's cheaper for him because he's going to buy the entry either way. And it's cheaper for me because I'm going to pay full price for the angle kit. Yeah. So if you swap them, stuff like that is like how some of them work. So people don't account for that.
Like with Driven Luck, which by the way, he's starting a GoFundMe. So if any of you guys, you want to support that track just by donating, help them get it. Because they need a parking lot. Dude, it's fucking... The track's sick, but they need a parking lot. But that's in the description. Anyway, sorry.
No, you're good. But yeah, I think that's a lot of it is like people don't look at the full picture of what it really costs. So like New Jersey, for example, everybody's like, okay, well, you got, 54 drivers, you got 500 spectators. That's X based off what these tickets are. So you made money. It's like, no, like that event prize was $50K, but it cost me $89,000 to run the weekend. Mm-hmm. So it's like stuff like that. People don't, and I try to be transparent with it because for some reason, people that are outside of like the promoter realm are like, oh, I'm going to run events because dudes make money running events. And it's like, dudes don't. And that was one thing.
That's why I've had so many event hosts on because I know there's such a misconception, not just from the driver to the event host, because that's normally like, you can figure out whatever.
Yeah, it's closer.
But the spectators don't have a fucking clue what's going on.
Yeah.
They just see it as another event that they go to if they're going to a fucking concert or some shit.
Yeah. And so the best thing for me that I can recommend to like anybody is if you want to see a better explanation of that and how that kind of stuff works, you can go watch Smoke and Mirrors from the Drift Games guys. It's like a 6-part series of them stopping running IDC. And that was one thing that like I've always appreciated with Dave and those guys is he's transparent in the fact that it's like, you do this event and everybody's like, oh, that's sick. And then you got to go tell your guys, be like, hey, so we just did all this work this weekend, but we're going to go work next weekend to pay for the work we just did this weekend, was the way he put it, because they had other promotion companies outside of it. And it's like, you got to look at that.
They've got it down.
Yeah.
They've got the science of events to a T. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was one thing that I realized, like last year we went and I drove the LZ festival over at Mondello. And it's like that scale of event is absolutely insane.
I want to drive one of
those. That was different. I like I haven't driven any events that I didn't run until that one in 7 years. And
damn,
it was a disaster. So we were only I was only supposed to be there for 3 days. So Friday was like fit the car to you, do practice runs, figure out everything. Saturday, all the fans were showing up, and like that was your like qualifying exhibition day.
Start getting your shit together.
Yeah, and then Sunday was like the actual competition thing. So me and my wife are going over there. We take off from Cleveland, drop the kids off, gets JFK, gets stuck on the tarmac for an hour at JFK. I'm like, okay, hopefully this isn't the theme for the whole trip. So then we sit in the terminal waiting on our 45-minute layover for 5 hours, and then they cancel our flight, and they're like, we're delaying you for 27 hours. We'll put you on another one the next day. And I'm like, that's 33%. What? So at that point, I'm missing the whole like practice day. So I've never driven I was in the IS 200 that they had. My buddy Will, that helped me run events, is already in Ireland because he flew out of Charlotte. So he's over there, sitting there looking at the car, sending me pictures of the track and everything. And he's like, what are you going to do now? Because like my flight's due in an hour and a half before practice goes in Dublin. And it's 45 minutes from the airport to the track. So they give Will a car. Will drives, he'd never driven in Europe in his life, let alone on the wrong side of the road on roundabouts and everything. Yeah. So he gets to the airport and he's like, dude, I'm a menace over here. This is terrible. And I'm like, okay, that's weird. Bro. Yeah. I didn't realize what he meant until we start driving back. And it was like 2 roundabouts. I'm pretty sure we almost went the wrong way. We were on the wrong lane coming to the other side. And I'm like carrying my suitcase through all the 10,000 people that are there on Saturday. I sit the suitcase down while everybody's like getting ready. They started the car up. I put the fire suit on, got in. I didn't even know where I was going. So I just start following everybody else. And I'm like, I get up there and I'm like, okay, so I get in the smallest burnout box ever because it's the width of the run up at Mondello, which is like way smaller than it looks on videos. And I'm like shaking. I pull up because I missed the driver's meeting. So I don't know what line I'm in. Apparently I'm in the lead line. So it's me and Phil Morrison from Driftworks. And he's in that NASCAR powered A86 that they've got.
Yeah.
And it's raining because it's Ireland. So I'm like, first, second, third, fourth, bombing down this hill, and you can't see the first corner. And like instinctively, since I've only drifted a right-hand drive car once before that, like my instinct is to hold on with my left hand because you can do all the
because everything's over here.
So I'm like, I hit the handbrake where the initiation cone is because you can't see the track. And as soon as I do that, I'm like, it pitches way out because it off camber's 12 degrees. So the car like rotates completely around, and I'm looking at Phil, and Phil's looking at me, and we're doing like 100 kilometers an hour backwards down this hill. And he's like, I'm like, dude, I don't know. I don't know what the track is. And so it was like, okay, that was kind of different. So we flip it around. I go back up. Second run down. I blow third gear out of the trans. Go back, do the next run following Kevin Quinn in the opposite S15 that Adam had.
Yeah.
And I just go in fourth and then hope for the best because it's raining and get it. And we kind of like limp it through. That night they put a new trans in it for me. Next day I go back out, blow the trans up again because it was a pass-through handbrake. And when I pulled it and I let it go, it didn't release, but I didn't push the foot brake because at that point, like you're coming over the hill and you're coming past the first inner clip. So like you're wide ass open. So I had no reason to hit back on the brake and release it. And I'm like, I'm way down on power. That's weird. Get around the second corner and I get to the new section of pavement they have between it. And like the whole car bucks and there goes the second trans. So it's like in 5 runs, I went through 2 transmissions. It was the worst. That trip was a disaster, but the event was like
the first trip out of country I hear is always the worst.
Yeah, it was. I just had bad luck on that one. And it was like, it was so bad. I went over to like the Drift Games booth.
To another country.
Yeah.
That's the saying. I don't know.
I had gone over to the booth to grab because they had a shirt with the car that I was driving on it. And Dave's like, go get it. So I go over there. I'm like, I need that one. And Jess, his wife, is like, oh, you're Ryan. You're the one this just broke on twice. I'm like, yeah, that's me. That's me. It just, yeah.
I'm the guy.
So it was like the scale that those guys to loop back around do is just like nuts. I want to go to Poland and see the Drift Masters final.
Oh, yeah.
But that's kind of like up in the air. I gotta have extra steps before I can go over there. So we'll
like
see how that goes. Like my work has to clear it. So I have to submit an FBI request and they have to like basically clear that I can go there because it's adjacent to a war zone.
Holy
shit. Yeah, it's like I had to get approval to go to Ireland.
2024.
Yeah, they sent me my approval when I was at the track, and I'm like, cool. I'm glad this got approved because I'm already here. But yeah,
fucked if not.
Yeah, I'm like, well, I guess we'll just see how this goes. So,
damn. Okay. Well, I guess we'll jump back onto Riverside then. What are some things that you've taken from Dave and Drift Masters and implemented into your events?
So the biggest thing that we had like from that I talked to him about was basically like running an event that you didn't really notice that as much at New Jersey because we didn't have enough drivers to kind of fill it. But the first 50K, like keeping the action rolling the whole time so the fans don't get bored. It was kind of like, you know, the way that they view it the most with Drift Masters, I would say, versus like their events, because now they're on fun stuff only.
Yeah.
But when they get into the Drift Masters side, it's like it's all production focused versus like, you know, FD side of things. It's like, I know the drivers don't feel like it's catered to them, but like they get a lot of opportunities to fix their shit. And it's like, if you're warming up your tires and your exhaust falls off in Drift Masters, you're just out. There's no, like, you're at the line when you're ready to go and you go or you're done. And it's like,
that's how it should be though.
Yeah. And it's like, they've got that and they've got 20. So when they do the whole live stream, everybody's like, oh, that live stream quality is like fantastic. There's 2 semi trailers with 40 dudes trying to run that live stream to get it like all going right.
Shit.
So like,
I wonder how much that bill is.
That I have no idea. But like when they do it, you see Josh and you see Lucas, Bandana Boy, and like those guys. So they're doing like all of their stuff at the same time. The other guys are like running like stationary cameras where like the dude just sits and pans, but then they have all these other dudes that are making sure that like the timing's right and all the images that you see in the graphics are perfect. And it's like
cameras and all
that. And like Dave and Ian, when they're commentating, they're not even looking at the track unless they're in Ireland because they don't speak the local language. So they're in another box or in a tent that they're looking at a TV screen. Like say they're sitting next to each other like me and you and the TV screen's right there and they're commentating off what the TV sees. So it's like you have
secondhand commentation.
Yeah, but there's like a few different teams doing that so that they can broadcast in different languages. So it's like all that kind of stuff adds up. That's why over here it's like, you're not necessarily getting that same production quality because it just takes so much stuff to do. That's why it's on Red Bull TV, because like that's a shared entity.
Yeah, they got it way better figured out.
Yeah, those shows run good.
Yeah, because I always liked, like you said, how they just keep it. It's always going and going and going.
Yeah.
When they like the LZ World Tour, whenever after every run, you know, both drivers come in and they have commentation, they talk to them and stuff like that, and that gives Swan or whoever's running the grid to get the next cars up, ready to go. So as soon as that camera pans, it's boom, action.
Yeah, and that's where, like, you know, on the event side of it, while they're doing that kind of stuff, not only does Nick have time to get them up, but like somebody else's shit might not have started that's two cars back, and they're trying to sort that out. So it kind of like doing those kinds of things keeps the spectators engaged while they're doing the rest.
Like there's show.
Yeah, but there's not like, you know, 4 minutes of drone shot that's just circling and waiting. That was kind of what we had at New Jersey. Was like we didn't have enough drivers to kind of fill the time. We had so many damn buy runs at the beginning of it. It's like that kind of stuff was inevitable there. But when you have the rest, it's like that kind of thing was the biggest thing I wanted to take from them was kind of, you know, bounce ideas back and forth. Where do you find the most return on your time? And it's like keeping spectators engaged keeps your audience up.
Yeah.
So
okay. So I guess next year, with you're not doing a 50K like at all.
So it'll be
it'll be labeled 50K.
It won't be labeled to 50K because like the payout's fluid. It's based off how many people show up.
Okay.
So it's paid out as whatever people sign up for. Like if it fills to 80, like what we had the first time, then it'll be similar to what we had in the past. Okay. But like if you have like 30 dudes show up, then it's gonna. I can't remember which way we had broke it down. I want to say it's gonna be like 14.
Okay. Yeah.
So or 15. It'd be 15. So,
do you already have a schedule out?
Yeah, I've got this. Yeah, I've got the schedule out. So
we can throw it up on the screen.
Yeah, it's on our Instagram and our Facebook. So we have there'll be like 4 titled events on there. And then there's one in October that's the weekend after the rest.
Okay.
So that one, what we're doing is whoever, like the way we used to do it, 2017 to 2021, we tracked points for like those 3 mini comps that we do throughout the season. So we're going to do that the exact same way as what we did in the past, but whoever finishes first, second, third for the whole season goes to the Drift Mansion with us and some of the other dudes that we're going to bring on for that event. So that'll be cool. Like a special edition prize thing.
Yeah.
For like anybody to have a shot at, because like those events are 245 max. So it's like you can go out and whatever and do good. It's the same thing as what we had like the small tire this past season.
Yeah.
It's kind of more like that style thing, but anybody that's driven with us like the last 5 years, they'll be familiar with that kind of setup.
Yeah, of course.
So that's what the thing is there, and then that's what the TBA at the bottom of the schedule is for.
Oh, okay.
Is for the Drift Mansion thing. So that's just because then we can bring in some of the other like link associated drivers and kind of have it be like something unique that somebody can go do that they wouldn't have a chance to otherwise. Yeah. Is basically what that's for.
So it's going to still be like a full series almost, but like you could still drive just one if you want.
Yeah, you could still drive just one. I mean, even like everybody's like, oh, well, there's competition that weekend, I'm not going. The way we've done these competitions is they literally take like 2 hours at the end of a weekend. You've still got 14 other hours to drive. Yeah. So like if you're not familiar with how we've done things in the past, there's plenty of time to just go out and jam with your buddies. If
I want to come to one, I'll do the competition, but like I don't fucking care for it. I'll probably get knocked out the first round. But
it's just extra drive time.
I just want to be there.
Yeah, everybody's like, oh, I don't want to do it. I'm like, you're just giving up free laps. Like,
yeah. And dude, honestly, I like Salem. I like the track layouts that they have. There's so many different layouts you can do. Yeah. And it's pretty big of a facility.
It is. It's I mean, for like an oval, it's big because the whole half mile that you have outside of it is what's normally not included. So like where we put that new section in 2 years ago, before the 50K, that whole piece where it connects up to the outside to me is the most fun part because you kind of like jump onto it. Yeah. So we can do cool stuff there, and that's why like we kept that for 2 of them, and then we've got the sports drone for 2 of them to kind of like still have sake of variety, but keep it in the same area.
Yeah. Well, how much are like are you going to be able to do it to where drivers can buy like their entire season up front?
So,
or is that going to be like just by driver basis if they?
what I've done in the past is typically like once we got into February time frame, I'll put up like 5 season passes. I don't do a bunch of them.
Yeah.
But it was like last year I did it and it was like, do you want it with the 50Ks or without the 50Ks? And it saved you like, I think if you didn't, it was like, I want to say it was $450 to drive like all the events if you didn't do the 50Ks last year. So it'll be kind of the same thing on this one. It'll just be, do you want to do the shootout 2 or do you want to do just the other 3 weekends?
Yeah.
It just, I kind of have to work that out because like on the backside costs are different track to track. So it's like, of course, what works out here. A lot of math to be done on that shit. Yeah, it's just make sure that, it all works and make sure it's advantageous for the driver, give them a deal, but like, it works out.
If someone was just buying a ticket to, let's say, one of the bigger events, the big comp events, and then you could do like the 245, is it a price difference and how much? Yeah, so for just one event.
On the regular Matsuri weekends where like the small tire and like the prize giveaway mini comp stuff is, I haven't ever changed the price on that from 2016 through. So it's like it's $150 for 2 days is the way it's always been. And then it's $90 for one. Damn. So it's like it saves you $30 if you just do both.
2 days is great.
Yeah, and it's like, it's $150 for 2 days, but there's like extra on top of it because it's like, I mean, you win like everything on there is like $1,500. Yeah, so you got that, and then like this year we've got we'll be bringing like DJs, live music. We've got so after our little kiddie pool thing at the 50K in Salem.
Fucking right.
So what we got a big projection screen. So that we can, so we're going to do like a kiddie pool drive-in thing at night. So if you haven't done the Thunder over Louisville weekend, which is April 20th, 21st, it's the biggest like air show on this side of the country, but they do like fireworks and everything. It's right next to the track. So we'll have like all that kind of stuff on that first weekend in April. So it makes it like a good you got shit going on all night because we're driving till 11, but then there'll still be like everything else going on until like 1 or 2 a.m.
Oh, that's gonna be cool.
Yeah, so it's like
that kiddie pool was hilarious.
That was a hit for some reason.
I didn't get that one,
but well, everybody else did at one point or another. I mean, people were swan diving into that thing. So
yeah, didn't we fill it up in a bed? We put it in a bed or something.
No, it was
at first we did that and took it on the other side of the fence near our pits,
and then everybody figured out you had it.
Yeah, and then, everyone caught an eye of it.
I think Corey and Connor brought it over.
Was it?
I think.
Dude, I don't know.
I know they were in it the whole time.
Dude, that was so fun. All right, so you're gonna be doing concerts and stuff, like, well, not just full blown concerts, but
just
live music,
something out. Yeah, just to kind of keep it going, like even once we shut down, because we can run later at the Sportstrome. Basically, like for those of you guys who don't know how events work, lights are expensive. Big ass lights are expensive. So like it's cheaper for us to run later at the Sportstrome than it is to run at Salem because the lights at Salem are like $600 to turn them on and warm them up. It's like it's insane because they're old style. So they're the big ass filament bulbs. Yeah. So it's like all of our late night stuff will be at the Sportstrome. They'll still be like where we had, some stuff out at Salem, but it'll be like we end driving at 10 there. Yeah. Instead, because on those 2 months it's light almost till 10.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's kind of why that one's in the middle. It's like,
have you ever thought it? Because you do a lot of stuff with Taxi Garage. So have you ever thought of doing like an after hours comp with the crazy carts?
You never stay. We did that.
Oh yeah, dude.
I gave away 3 Grip Royal wheels. Dude, for Taxi Garage comps.
I'm an old man. I swear to God, I go to bed early.
Okay, so
if I can,
I got to send you a video because the best one that we did. So Derek Madison had.
It always seems like sloppy though. Like nobody's actually.
No, dude, that one like we had like an actual track and everything. So he brought the stacker. So we put like the canopy out and we hung all the banners from the canopy, and then we had the track layout was down the middle, and we grabbed a bunch of wood and covered the side of the trailer so you had a wall to tap.
Hey.
So it was like, I mean, because we ran full 16 through that one.
Damn,
like on it, but I was giving away Grip Royal wheels for Taxi Garage comps, and like anybody could enter. You could show up and be 10. Like Dimitri Brutsky's kids rip on those things because they drove them for like 6 hours at New Jersey. I kept having to put wheels on them because they like burn those things up. But you could have kids like that were winning wheels. Like it's just nobody stays late.
Yeah,
because they're like tired at the end of the day.
That's fair.
So if you guys don't know, we've always done something at the end of the night. It just depends on like what it is.
Do you think it would be cool to do something during the day for that, for spectators?
So
only?
we could. The problem is, like
Having this area to do it.
yeah, having the area to do it because it takes a decent bit of space, and the space that we had, like that we used for that, was always like pre-grid because you have to have somewhere that's smooth. So once the driving stops, then you can have that kind of stuff like in the same thing. We had a little setup at New Jersey, but like you had to have perfect asphalt because it chunks the wheels up. So it's kind of just whenever you can fit it. Yeah.
Those things are so cool.
They are awesome. Yeah, they're a blast. I don't know. I'm pretty sure every single event we had to charge them like 4 times, and they last a pretty decent bit. But like my dudes were taking them the whole way around the layout at Salem. They took them around the whole stadium at New Jersey at the beginning of the live stream. Like they were really cool in that.
Just to get around.
Yeah. It was like there's a picture of me somewhere. I got tires just stacked all over me, and I'm just driving it because I didn't have my golf cart. So
hey, the scooters are the best for that. You just throw a tire on it, and it turns into like a sit down scooter. You just sit on the tire. That shit's fun.
Yeah, no, they were good.
Hell yeah. Well, what other things are you wanting to incorporate for spectators specifically going into this year?
So basically, the idea going back to the sports drome there is like our spectator count being closer to like everybody is a lot easier there. And the pits kind of flow more organically where everybody can walk around and be involved in what's going on. But there's a hut, if you haven't been there, that's like right by the start line and right by the corner of the grandstands. And like that section is going to be where like we'll have some of the other mini game stuff like like say your taxi garage comp, that kind of thing goes on there. And then we also have like we're expanding the vendor paddock, so we'll have more vendors that are there kind of doing stuff to keep that engaged. And then the DJs will start while we're still driving, so we'll have that. We'll have we got some food trucks that are coming in to do stuff, so that'll kind of like make it more of an all-in-one type thing. And then the rest of the stuff we'll kind of like announce as we get it locked down. And
I figured there's some stuff you can't talk on.
Yeah. So once we kind of get a few more of the things ironed out for that, we'll kind of like keep pinging that out on social media.
Hell yeah.
But we got things in the works. Okay. So it'll be a good year.
I've got some ideas that I want to do for events too. So maybe I can help with that aspect of it, because I'll tell you that after the podcast, because I don't want to mention that yet. But okay, is there anything that you kind of want to mention about Riverside itself that we haven't covered on the podcast that you think is fairly important?
Honestly, we went so fast, I don't even remember what all we've talked about.
We're only at about an hour.
Yeah, I mean,
15 or so.
So, yeah, I mean, I guess what questions have you seen people post kind of like bouncing back and forth? Because I've also, like, we had more people come on for like helping me with social media and stuff. So I've missed a bunch of questions that other people have answered. Yeah. So I guess, like, is there anything that you've seen that's...
Well, I guess nothing crazy. I like to focus on the aspect of event hosts going more towards spectators rather than drivers and catering to them. Because from the way I see it is the drivers realistically kind of just pay for the track rental. Yeah. And then the spectators are where your profit could be made, right?
It kind of depends on what your setup is with the track, because like everybody kind of rents tracks in a different manner too. So
that's why style is a big thing for me.
On like bringing the spectators in.
Yeah, just making sure cars are stylish, making sure that the track is stylish. That's one thing that I didn't realize until like you see something like the Drift Mansion. And when Scott had the idea of like painting everything, dude, holy shit, it made it 10 times better. But like you don't notice the banners and stuff in the background that really sets a kind of vibe and feel to a track for spectators. Yeah, that's what they get to watch the entire time.
Well, and that's kind of the thing with luckily with Link, they had given us these huge like 100-yard long banners. So those things are like perfect because they're the same height as a K-rail too. So it makes it easier to kind of do things there. And then like when we did the 50k up at Salem, like all the grandstands are wrapped in the Link logos and everything. Yeah. So like that kind of stuff does make a big difference in presentation for people that are just coming in to
makes it feel more official.
Yeah, because there was, I mean, you know, like on some of the fun weekends, it's like you got your banners kind of in the pits and around, but there's not any. The more stuff you can put out that's like that, it can give your partner like organic reach too, because like all the guys taking pictures are going to have the logos and everything in it.
Yeah.
But as a driver, I think it looks cooler too if you have all this stuff out there.
Oh yeah, having the stuff in the background of your shots while you're driving on track.
Yeah.
And instead of just a blank fucking K-rail wall.
Yeah, and you get that everywhere. That was like when we used to run at the airport over next door, out in Salem, like all the walls were bright ass green.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like that was an identifying feature because everybody's like, oh, well, I know where that's at. But
exactly when you see that.
Yeah.
So Swan brought up how he like hasn't driven in fucking forever.
Mm-hmm.
So why do you think it's a big complication for event hosts to not drive as often?
Like what makes it so we can't drive as often?
Yeah, because you would, from an outside viewer, you would think like, oh, he's running events, he could just drive whenever he wants.
Yeah, no,
Nope.
like there's almost, I'd say probably until the last like 2 events, every time I took a car, I maybe got like 4 laps total, and that was me driving like 1 or 2 before we even opened the gates. Just because like when you're the dude that's answering everybody's questions, everybody's always got a question, and then like that's another reason why I'm like, if you show up for the driver's meeting, it solves a lot of these things, because after the driver's meeting, you'll spend 2 hours answering people's questions that you talked about in the driver's meeting. So for those 2 hours, you're not driving. But it's like you're always pulled in a bunch of different directions. So like as the person who has to answer the important questions, or mostly any question, because everybody knows who you are at that point, it just makes it hard to jump in the car. So then it's like, if you are in the car, you kind of just try to like hammer out as many laps as you can because you've got the window. But then like you'll jump in the car and somebody will hit a wall. So then you go park and you go out and you figure out what's going on, or you drive up there and you figure out what's going on and facilitate that. So that's what makes it kind of hard in that regard. Honestly, the most time I probably spent driving was like before events. So like we'd set everything up, and it's like, yeah, it's like me and the guys were already there. So like they would bring their cars and we'd kind of just drive here and there beforehand. Some of the tracks that when we like that we have good relationships with, we'll just go out and drive like at the track. So there was a couple of times where me and my buddy Flick, we would just like, we had 2 of the rental cars that we left at the track. So we just drove out and just got in the cars and went and drove for like 2 hours, and then just put the cars back in a field and then left. So
like, take it wherever we can get it.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. That kind of stuff gets more difficult. That was kind of different on like Ford Fest was the first one I've driven here that wasn't mine. Yeah. So it was like, I also was like, do I really have to go to the driver's meeting? But I feel like you already knew it all. Like, I give everybody enough shit for this. I probably have to go to the driver's meeting. So it was kind of nice to flip the sides of it, where like I didn't have to worry about what was going on. But then I look at Nick and the rest of them, and I'm like, I feel you. Yeah, I know where you're at. Yeah. So I think that's the biggest thing is like we still enjoy it. Obviously, we wouldn't be doing it.
I think that's why a lot of people try and start running events to do the whole offset thing, and then they realize that, well, now I'm not driving at all.
Yeah, or like, I mean, it kind of depends on how serious you take it too, because like you've got dudes that I can't remember who the dude was that used to run Drift Colorado, but like he competed in his own events.
Oh God!
So like when there was a problem, he was like staged up in grid, like getting ready to go compete in the own so then it like made it take a while. So it kind of depends on like what side of that you're in, because like the way I'm not driving my own comp. Yeah. Like one, everybody's just going to ride your ass about it being like biased, even if you did and it wasn't. But it's like, you got so much other shit to do. Yeah. So it kind of depends on like, if you're doing that, if you're just doing it for fun, are your buddies interested in driving that are helping you out? Like, do they want to go drive, or is it just you driving? Like everybody at this point that helps me out with events, like they've all come from like into it as drivers. Yeah. And then like, it's kind of organic. Flick doesn't do them anymore with me. And then Will helped me out like a ton. Like he was doing like everything I do. Yeah. He was answering questions. He set up his own like partner deals for us and everything. It was like perfect. Well, then he lost his job, had to move to North Carolina. So then I lost him. And that was, that kind of made it more difficult, because it was like, you could cut them loose and everybody knew what was going on and we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
So that's like a big thing in it too. But it was like,
I'm sure building the crew for it all is the hardest part.
yeah, and it's like all the pieces kind of have to fit together.
Yeah.
Too. So like everybody has to be on the same page and everybody has to have the same goal and everybody has to like, you have to have respect for each other because like I had one dude that was fighting with another guy that I had on there and they're like arguing about stuff and changing shit like while we're going through for the drivers meeting. And then the drivers are like, well, you just explained this as this, but it's not set up like that. I'm like, fuck. So like you have to make sure that everything works. And like, it's good working with your friends because like all the people that came into it, like we're all buddies from driving or them driving my events and stuff. And then like, it's also a curse because it's like, it's a different relationship when your friends are helping you run events versus like if you just pay somebody to come in and help you run an event.
Yeah.
So like when on the 50K side, it's like a different experience for everybody, like staff wise and whatnot included. But it's like on those, everybody knows that like we aren't really driving because there's different goals. But like on the fun ones, you just kind of like rotate out run groups on who's doing what. My main grid guy is Austin Greer. Like he does all pretty much of the grid stuff. And then he'll drive like A or B group.
Oh, whenever, cool. Okay.
Like depending on when we rotate that around. But he's like, that's like his perfect role.
Yeah.
So it's like you show up and you see the dude with the big watermelon shirt and you know that that's your grid guy.
That's who I need to pay attention to.
Yeah. So that, I mean, and then like now Ian Dickens is the one that we have that runs like kind of everything else to facilitate like when something happens because I'm not always available. So he's kind of like extra me.
Yeah.
But
having all these like paid jobs for these people, or a lot of them like just helping you out.
Yeah. So that's what like a lot of people just help out just because they enjoy it. Like there's been 2 of the guys have come on and we had like basically like you get this % if we make money off the event type thing.
Okay.
Was how they had worked. But like a lot of the other guys, it's like it's a passion project type thing. Plus it's like they want to drive. I'm not going to charge them to drive if they're helping me out. Run a couple run groups and we'll just swap things around. Yeah. So it's like that kind of stuff makes a lot of it possible when everything else is kind of like you have to run these kind of bare minimum because if it rains, you're going to be behind anyway. So it's like, and then, you know, depending on what type of insurance you have, you can do like there's weather clauses and stuff to try to make up if things happen. But it's like, that's another thing where people that aren't hosting them don't think about like what your insurance costs. Cause it's like, you're going to have 3 policies running an event. Cause you've got,
especially nowadays.
Yeah. Cause you got to cover like the facility. Like, so like I've got workman's comp. Cause you got, if somebody gets hit, they're working for you, whether they're volunteer or not. And then you've got like your own personal liability coverage. You've got your umbrella for all the weather stuff. It's like all of that insurance costs you out the ass and you hope you never have to use it, but it's like,
yeah, and there's so many regulations to it all too.
Yeah, and every facility is different. So you have like you got to say this is the facility's rules for this. Give it to your underwriter. He's going to look at it. He's going to say, okay, we can meet this requirement. Do this, that, and the other. Like when we did Kentucky Speedway, it was like $5 million in property coverage that they wanted. I'm like, if somebody does $5 million worth of property damage in a drift car, they fucked up. Yeah, that's some wild shit. Like we had. Both times I went there, we had like really weird shit get broken, but it was like, so one of them, the first time I went, we ran the event inside the garages. So the NASCAR garages at Kentucky Speedway make like a big W because it's supposed to be like a D and a W because Darrell Waltrip designed the track and whatnot. So we're like, our layout's in this one and like all the drivers could rent the garages from them. So they had like indoor spaces with power and all that kind of shit.
Sick.
And Neil Fredrickson came down the main straight, goes around the first corner, and all of his wheel studs shear off. And that wheel just beelines fast as fuck for the garage door. And it caved in the garage door like 1.5 foot. Like the thing like ripped off the tracks and everything. So that kind of sucked. Had another dude back into a gate. They were more worried about the gate than they were the garage door, which I thought was really weird. And then Stu Kelly like full on airborned his LS because he hit a 6-inch I-beam that was sticking out of the ground when we did the road course one. And that one we just hooked to a tow truck and kind of just like pulled it back straight. And the track did that. They were cool with it. So it's like all that little stuff can add up too. But
Oh my God. Have you ever had a track that like makes the drivers pay for it all?
So Kentucky Speedway made the driver that hit the gate pay for the gate.
How much did the gate cost?
$300.
Oh, okay. That's not
But
too
no,
bad.
He didn't do shit for the garage door. The garage door, they just let ride. They're like, oh, we ain't worried about it. We'll just replace the panels. I'm like, okay.
Whatever you say, I guess.
It's different. I mean, other than that, I don't think there's ever been anywhere that like anybody's worried about anything. They would have there if we'd hit a guardrail when we did like the road course one, but nobody ever hit the guardrails. So it worked out.
Got lucky as hell there.
Yeah. So.
Hell yeah. Well, okay. So if anyone is wanting to like do events on, or just even wanting to get to this scale that you are, what is your approach as far as gaining sponsorship for running events? Because that's not really something you hear very often. Like what is your pitch? What is your approach to companies?
So the biggest thing that I've seen in success with like getting new partners, or like the hardest part is getting somebody on board new. Cause like after that, as long as you can prove that you're delivering what you say you are, then it's easier to keep the relationships going because you already like you've built a rapport with them.
Yeah.
But the biggest problem I see with people trying to do it now is like, you can't be greedy. So you have to realistically evaluate what you can give them and say like, okay, here's going to be your ROI on what I can give you for like social media traffic. Because it's like, you know, you're like, oh, I got like 60 likes on this post and like 1,000 people viewed it.
Grow
it's
up,
like,
buddy.
yeah, it's like those guys posted a picture of like half of a bolt and they probably got like 1,000 on their Instagram. So like, you have to realistically look at it and say like, here's what I can do. And when you pitch it to them, you have to be super clear and concise on what your deliverables to them are going to be and how that is going to make some kind of impact on them on sales. So it's like, you know, it's the same thing as a driver. Like you're going in and saying like Irving gets all these things all day and he posts them on social media, but dude, it's like
relentless about them too.
And you can't go in with like a half-ass message and be like, oh, this is going to work, because you and 100 other dudes are doing the exact same thing. And it used to not be the same way with series, but now it's, you know, me and 10 or 15 other dudes sending the same company, the same shit. And it's like,
that's why I tell everyone, do your normal proposal deck and stuff. But do a video.
Yeah. You need something to like make it stand out.
Yeah.
Because if it's like, you know, I'm doing these fun events and here's this, that, and the other, I want 10 grand. It's like, okay, well, how is that 10 grand going to impact them?
Yeah.
So that's where like you kind of have to look at it. It'd be the same. If you're the promoter, look at it as a driver coming to you and being like, I want to drive all your shit for free. And it's like, okay, well, how are you going to make it worth my while to let you drive for free? Because like you're the business at that point.
Yeah.
So if you're looking at them the same way, that company, say it's like, KBD, you got the banner up here. So like, how are you going to make it mutually beneficial? Because you just want his body kit, but it's like, so does all the other dudes. So the biggest thing in any partnership proposal, whether it's a series or a driver, is like you have to make yourself stand out and you have to be clear and concise on what you're going to deliver and how you're going to make an impact for that company.
Yeah.
So,
and that's what I always say too, is because you want to, even if you don't even know what they want, you don't know what could even be helpful to them. It's just figure it out what you actually can offer. Don't oversell yourself, but
no, because
what
then you
can
fail
you
to
offer,
deliver,
and then you just present it to them. How can any of this help you?
Yeah.
In what way could you use this to help promote your brand this year or hit your marketing goal, whatever the circumstance is?
Right. Because like trying to sell somebody on like, you know, this amount of likes on my picture will get you a sale it's nothing concrete.
Useless.
So
they all know the views don't relate to sales.
Yeah. And it's like you're sending these to people who it's their professional job to evaluate you. And like, if you're not going to sit down and, you know, everybody's like, oh, well, now you can start a proposal with AI. It's like,
no, you can't. They will be almost identical copies.
Yeah.
Damn near replicas.
It's going to do the same thing. It's going to replace like a few words or whatever. It's like, you got to sit down, and even if you're asking somebody for like, even if you're just asking Irving for the kit, like look at what that value is. look at how much time you're going to spend on the proposal. Like, how much value is that to you to sit down and spend like 2 hours to get something that's worth $1,000?
Oh, dude, the entirety of my proposal, if you added up how much hours I spent on it, was, I'd say 12 to 14 hours total just working on the proposal before I ever sent it to anyone.
Yeah, like you got to put in the sweat equity to like make it worth it.
Yeah.
And it's like if you can show the dedication and the time that you'll like put into something like that, I feel like that can reflect well, because like
that's why I say the video too, because that's going to set a precedent up front. Is like you can create videos, especially if you put editing, styling, and shit into it. They're going to be able to see like, oh, he actually can create content. I can see from this first interaction that I'll be getting something.
Yeah.
It may not be the best quality or whatever, but he's already proving himself from the jump. So
yeah, it's like,
stop just saying, can I get a kit? I get 100 views a video or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, or it's like, you know, say you're hitting up the link guys. It's like, oh, I want an ECU. It's like, so do you and 200 other dudes. Like, what are you going to do? What are you going to create? What are you going to do to make yourself stand out or get engagement? So it's like, I've talked to a bunch of people and they're like, well, I don't want to do Reels. I don't want to do TikTok. I don't want to do this, that, and the other. And it's like, it's not about you and what you want to do. It's what you can do and what you will do.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, you know, you have to be able to put the time in on whatever's relevant to that company, to be like, you can't look at it and say that you're better than whatever their strategy is. Mm-hmm. Because if they say they want you to create content when they send you whatever part, it's like, that's their stipulation on you.
I think a lot of it is just because a lot of companies want that organic feel to their ad placements or whatever it is. So to the public viewer, a lot of it just does kind of look easy. It looks like it comes easy to these people, like the Adam LZs, the Jimmy Oaks, the blah, blah, blah. To those average viewers, it looks so easy that they're just getting it and getting it and getting it. And they're just putting it on their car. They don't realize that how they're putting it on their car and how they're capturing that. They're thinking about every little angle, what they're saying, so that it works right with an actual, like being an ad, but it just feels organic.
Yeah.
So a lot of that misconception gets lost to the average viewer, and they don't realize that like this is promotion.
Well, and that's like, so you brought up Jimmy Oaks. So you use that as like an example of like, he's a Link sponsored driver. So you see him like grab the box, go out and put it on the car, and you're like, oh, well, that's okay. Like,
it's just a day in the life of Jimmy.
Yeah, but
like that's
look at what
paid for that.
Look at what he gives Link. Like, he's one of their highest selling dealers in like the whole country. That's why he's got that gold ECU that Justin did. Like, the dude puts in the work outside of it so that they have a direct relation to like this investment, and giving him these ECUs translates to this in sales. Yeah. So like, excuse me. Good. If you can take that approach, it's like, that's concrete numbers. That's a no-brainer.
That's something you can physically track no matter what. It's and that stuff will tell you where they clicked from. Exactly. All sorts of shit.
Yeah. So that kind of stuff is like, you know, he put the time in, he put the sweat equity into like getting that relationship, building up everything, and then it's like, you're just looking at it and saying, oh, okay, well, this is such and such. It's like, you need to evaluate
those moments
the
you
whole
see
thing.
are agreed upon before they ever happen, yet you're just seeing them in an organic light, like it's a normal day.
Yeah.
But that's work. He didn't have like, his normal life didn't have to do that specifically, but he chose to do the back end work of post editing or hiring someone to do it and managing it all and planning out the video, how he was going to do it, which most of you motherfuckers aren't willing to do. So that's your own problem and why you're not getting a sponsorship.
Yeah. I mean, and that's like, people ask me that all the time, and like other people that had run series, they're like, well, how did you start off with this? And I'm like, honestly, dang, that's getting me. So like, the other thing is, if you really want to start a relationship with the company, and like I said on the greedy thing, like, you can't be greedy. Yeah. Find out another way that you can do it. So like, Lucas Oil was our first oil sponsor. Redline we had for like 3 years. We never got a dime from them. Mm-hmm. We just give away stuff. So it's like, I just went in and got partners because I'm like, to me, my return on it is the more people that show up and drive, that can translate to supporting like what we're doing as Riverside. But then like, it gives the drivers a reason to show up and kind of like try to do these drift limbos and stuff like that. And it's like, you know, those kinds of things are where you can start out. Then you can grow the relationship if you can prove that you're doing what you say you did. But it's like, if you're realistic and you really want to get the relationship with it, like, take the little steps that you need to build the foundation on it before you just jump in and say, like, give me all this stuff. Yeah. It's like, if you can look at it like that and just say, like you were asking about as a series, like, look at what you can do for the drivers. So the drivers want to show up, and that's your return on your time instead of the other way around.
Yeah, that's perfect. Hell yeah. All right. Well, let's jump into this question. I started this couple podcasts ago.
Okay.
So since I have a lot of newbie viewers, a lot of people are trying to figure out how to, and I'm sure when you first started, you were like, I don't even know what the fuck to buy for this piece of shit.
Yeah.
So you choose whichever car you've had in the past. You can do S197. I know that may be a little harder being off of Enjuku, but you have a bone stock car of whatever you've had in the past, and let's go with $3,000 this time that you have to spend on the car to be able to get it to its first track day. Let's just consider you have tires too, because we did that on the last one as well.
Okay. So honestly, I have not been on Enjuku in like years, so I don't even know what is available on there anymore.
Damn near everything.
Okay. So, I mean, honestly, if
you don't have to be like specific brands. I can throw up like stuff that would correlate to what you're saying. So you could say coilovers, you know, handbrake. You don't got to be specific.
Yeah, I mean, so the biggest thing that I feel, if you had $3,000, obviously you got to get coilovers.
Wait, what car? What car too?
I'm gonna go with the S197. Like, S197? Bang for the buck right now. That's the cheapest thing you can do. Because like, if you jump on Copart, you can probably buy one that runs and drives for $2,000.
I figured you would, but like, I want to do it this way. That way, every single person that comes in has a different car. So we're not just doing like every person goes off of a 350Z or something.
You'd have that, you know?
Yeah. So
S197. Yeah, because that's, people keep asking me that, and that's what I keep steering them in the direction of, because it's like attainable.
Yeah.
So I'd say
it's still cheap.
Realistically, all I had on the black car was coilovers, the angle kit, a fixed back seat. Trying to think, I'm probably at $3,000 if you got decent
buy the
shit.
Seat before anything. I swear to God.
Well, so like on that car,
change,
but it body rolls like a motherfucker. So like you have to do something.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
So like if you do the coilovers, then do the seat.
So you're at about 15 right there, or 14.
What seat are you getting?
Like an NRG. $400.
I have a bad example though, because I had expensive taste on my seat brackets. Like I paid $300 for the seat brackets per side on the Mustang.
Oh my God.
But they're like super freaking nice Fat House Fab ones. They make them up by Indy.
Yeah.
Like super nice rails, but it's like there was one day that we were looking at that and we were looking at the status seats and everything, and I'm like, if you'd spend $3,000 on the stupid seats and the steering wheel if you did it by yourself. So it's like so yeah, coilovers, the seat, so you do the NRG, do that stuff, and then I'm not going to put a handbrake anywhere on a $3,000 list, because like that's a post skill, it's a crutch if you start off with it, I feel like. So when I was doing the clinics, I was like taking the handle off.
And I had to learn.
Yeah, it was like when we were doing the clinics in the E36, I just took the handle off so people couldn't use it. So it's like, and we had good success with that, because then you're doing everything off the pedals and the feel. So I'm going to go with just
3 is a hard number to work with.
It is, because it's like, depending on what your taste is, you'll blow $3,000 on rear arms to make sure your tires last. But it's like,
we're going to give you a walkthrough. If you're a Mustang guy, you're looking for parts on Enjuku,
it's hard to find, but it's here.
Go to other makes. It'll bring up all the other list of manufacturers. Click forward, Mustang, blah, blah, blah. And now you're there.
All right. So right now I've got a set of BC Racing coilovers. Can't go with anything else on that.
Of course.
Got to keep it there. Cody and Davey treat us good.
Dude, Cody is the best, bro. I swear. I love the texts I get from him all the time. Just sends me the most random shit.
No, they're good dudes. And they help out drifting dudes a lot.
Oh, yeah.
So I got those on there. I got the NRG seat, like you said. And then I'm going to go with like all the Scotty D rear stuff, because I have like 0 wheel hop on any of it, because it's all Heim ends.
Yeah.
I put the RTR ones on, which the RTR ones are just white line ones that have a different logo on them. But those still had wheel hop on the red car. So then you've blown your $3,000.
Damn.
But that's everything you have to have to like start off with it. Then you can
it's still
then you can get the rest of the
cheap.
stuff going. But it's like,
well, yeah, because the memo is always, for the love of God, please take after this advice. Build your skill level with the car you have, and then once you've maxed that out, upgrade the car. That's the way to go. Please take that advice. You will learn how to drive so much better.
yeah. And the dude that shows up in like the clapped E36 that he's got like $3,000 in total and rips, I guarantee he was having way more fun than you in your $20,000 car.
100%.
Yeah. Like,
and he knows how to drive 10 times better than you too.
yeah, we had this one dude, he showed up and like, he freaking shredded in this thing. It was an E36 on like stock suspension, balloon ass tires. But so he had, I can't remember what had happened, but he had to have his arm amputated, like above the elbow.
Oh shit!
He took the stock handbrake, like the cable handbrake, and welded it to the A pillar so that he could like use it with his arm. And he was going in third, and he'd huck the shit out of it, and he'd hit the handbrake while he shifted, let go of everything, shifted down to second, was like backing in across the middle of the oval at Salem.
Oh my god!
And then did the whole rest of the layout. And I'm like, that dude's having a fucking blast. Like,
I don't want to hear another one of y'all bitching about your car not working. Fuck that.
Yeah, that man made it work. He
oh my god.
Yeah,
he needs to talk to Chair Slayer.
Yeah.
You figure out some science from him and to make it work better for him.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
It was impressive. Yeah.
Shout out to you. If you're watching this, comment below. I want to say hi. That's awesome. All right. Well, I guess let's go into your absolute best piece of advice for just anyone getting into drifting. Just best advice you can think of.
Best advice, like you're talking about like newbies starting out because you said getting into drifting.
Yeah,
right?
getting in.
Okay, so I would say the biggest thing, especially with doing all the clinics with everybody else, is you have to be patient with yourself because you can watch the videos of all the other dudes all day long and be like, yeah, I can jump out there and do that, and then like I've had people where I'm like, just get out of the car, walk around, breathe. Like it's gonna be okay. You
don't realize how frustrating it is to maintain a drift.
Yeah, and then like, and once you get frustrated, you're just gonna fuck up more and more.
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, it's like with anything else. Even like at my day job, I weld if I'm like at the shop and I'm not on the road. So it's like, if I get frustrated, you can see it in that too. It's like whatever you're doing, you have to be patient with yourself.
There's always gonna be those freaks in natures too. Like I had a buddy, Dustin, when he first started, was tandeming, linking the track perfectly, hitting all the zones, first day ever driving. Never been on a sim, just driving. So some people have there are the freaks of natures, and those can discredit you whenever you're first starting too. You'd be like, why the fuck did he get it so quick and I can't?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, we had like, I had this one buddy when we had lived up in Indy, he like couldn't figure out the drift trike thing. Like we had built like gas powered drift trikes, and we're like, some people just don't have the feel for it. And it's like, it's gonna take you a minute. And then he was like, I can't figure it out because it's a trike. I'm gonna build a car. So he went and got a car, and then he's like, I can't figure it out. And it's like, it's fine. Just take your time. Like
focus on one thing.
Yeah.
Jumping.
So it's, I'd say that's my thing, is just be patient with yourself. Give yourself time to figure it out if it doesn't like come naturally.
Yeah.
Everybody, regardless of what level they're at now, at some point has done something that they couldn't pull off the first time. Yeah. So they've had to like do the same thing and like slow down and figure it out.
Skateboarding. You're just trying to learn a trick.
Yeah, it's no different than anything else you do in life. Like if it's your first time doing it, like snowboarding, you're not gonna go bomb down the hill first time. You're gonna eat shit.
My tailbone hurt so fucking bad the next day.
Oh yeah.
Oh, and dude, you think snow? If you've never been around snow, that shit hurts to fall on. I swear to God, I would rather tumble down a fucking 24 flight of stairs trying to grind a rail than anything than that.
Yeah.
Oh my God, snow hurts so bad.
The worst time we ever had snowboarding,
concrete and sandpaper.
My buddy Matt, he was helping me with the events when we had first started.
Yeah.
We went snowboarding, and it was like, I think it might have been his second time going, and we took my Hatch 240 that had like the cage and everything all the way up to the Paleo Peaks. So it was like an hour and a half drive up there. Everything was super icy, and he's like, I want to hit a jump, and we're like, okay, there's like a little 2-foot kicker over here by the side. Next to that, they've got like this X Games looking motherfucker set up where there's like flags going up to the top of it, and
like a 40-foot tall jump.
Yeah, and me and Cody are sitting here, and he starts going, And Cody's like, I think he's lined up for the other one. I'm like, nah, he's
way.
just slowing down so he can hit the little
no.
one. And he slowed way down and he went off that big motherfucker. And as soon as he's in the air, I just see him doing this. And I'm like, oh shit. Cody's like, we got to go down there and get him. We go down and get him. And he had compression fractured his wrist. Like he just got a tattoo right here too. And they had to like cut through the middle of it and fix his wrist and everything. But he had to ride an hour and a half to the ER in my Hatch 240 that was like doing this the whole time. And like our boards are in the back bouncing off the cage, and he's like bumping his elbow, and like the adrenaline's wearing off. And that was a rough snowboarding trip. That was a bad one.
Oh my God. Oh, that's hilarious. I haven't been snowboarding in fucking years, but yeah, that shit's a lot harder than Alexa.
Yeah.
But all right, well, yeah, that's pretty much all for that. Do you have anyone you want to shout out or plug yourself, anything like that?
So, I mean, you know, I just want to thank like all the partners that we have with us that help us at Riverside do what we do. So the Link ECU guys, we've had them on board for 7 years. Like I said, we got BC Racing, we got Ignite Race Fuel, So in Love Home Matchmaking. He's a local realtor that's jumped on board and he's supported us the last few years. Irving with KBD, got all those guys helping us out.
Hell yeah.
A few more
When did
rolling back
KBD
in
start?
through. We've been doing stuff with KBD since, what car did I have? Shit, it's been 4 years now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Damn, hell yeah.
Yep. So he's, and I mean, that's one of those ones where it's like,
He loves supporting series.
yeah, but it's like, so we just give kits. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't want any money. I just want to be able to give dudes kits.
Yeah.
So it's like, it works out.
Hell yeah. Well, all right. You got any closing words or anything like that?
No, I think I'm good. I don't know. I lost track, but it's gone quick.
Hell
So-
yeah. Well, if you guys have any extra questions, as always, leave them in the comments or anything like that. I'm sure you'll be lingering in the comments some yourself.
Yep. I'll answer stuff there, Instagram, Facebook, whatever.
Hell
So-
yeah. And of course, any of the parts and stuff we talked about, he sells them. I know that, but along with Enjuku, the link stuff, Kanseis, whatever you need. Of course, all those links are in the description, especially I'll put yours in there as well. But yeah, that's all we got for this one. So don't forget, make sure that subscribe button is pressed, and that's all we got. So see you each week, every Sunday for a new episode. Peace.
Stacking way up to the ceiling. Trust no bitch, can't catch no feelings. I've been taking long flights from the Bay to Ibiza. Hit home runs, I'm a ball like Jeter. I just want fuck, then I leave her. I'm a young pop star, call the boy Justin Bieber. Got a little money if you want, I can teach you. Whole life a movie, you can watch it in theater. Stacking way up to the ceiling. Trust no bitch, can't catch no feelings. I've been taking long flights from the Bay to Ibiza. Hit home runs, I'm a ball like Jeter. I just want fuck, then I leave her. I'm a young pop star, call the boy Justin Bieber. Got a little money if you want, I can teach you. Whole life a movie, you can watch it in theater. We in the bag of the band, shit like a sauna, she working a sweat. Told her come over.